To the U.S. and now, where the FBI executed a search warrant at the home of former President Donald Trump. The search was first confirmed in a statement issued by the former president, who said his beautiful home was under siege and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Trump did not disclose why the raid took place, and the Justice Department does not comment on ongoing investigations. Widespread reporting points to this being part of an investigation into his handling of presidential documents that might have been illegally removed from the White House to his private residence, which is a federal crime in terms of the Presidential Records Act. Let's get the latest from SABC News correspondent Ira Spitzer, who joins us live now. Ira, thank you so much for your time. I mean, it's been the buzzing story of the day. Some reports suggesting that this is linked to documents that were removed from the White House and they were not supposed to be. What do we know so far?
Well, really unprecedented scenes playing out here in the United States, beginning, of course, with what Donald Trump called a raid on his residence and private club, Mar-a-Lago, in the state of Florida. And we haven't heard any updates on this yet from the Department of Justice or the FBI, who were involved in that search. So much of the information we have so far comes from Donald Trump himself, who published that statement ostensibly as this raid was happening at Mar-a-Lago. We also learned from his son, Eric Trump, later in the night, speaking to Fox News, that he said, as other reporting has also suggested, that this search was related to the alleged classified documents that Trump could have taken with him from the White House and stored at Mar-a-Lago. So all these signs now seem to point in that direction as to why this happened. But that's just really the tip of the iceberg, because it would still be a very unusual, unprecedented situation for that to cause a raid on a former president's home like this. So certainly we would assume, or there are suggestions at least, that the Justice Department may have more on its mind or more to deal with than just the seizure of these documents. But again, we don't know yet, because we haven't heard from the Department of Justice, and they are not necessarily required to update the public on what's happening right now. But this has caused a firestorm in American politics. Trump trying to use this to rally his base, saying that this is a witch hunt and things like that. The sort of claims he's always made about the deep state in Washington targeting him unfairly. Meanwhile, the opposition, such as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, noting that no one is above the law, and that this is something that, of course, should happen in a democracy such as the United States, where even former presidents are subject to the laws of the land. So going to be a very interesting ride here as we see what this all means for Donald Trump, as well as his potential aspirations for running for president again in 2024, something that he has hinted at in the past.
And I was going to go there because, I mean, he talks about, this as and comparing it to Watergate. And you listen to the former acting Solicitor General, for example, talking about how serious this is and some serious conversations that his lawyers should be having with him at this particular point. Talk to us about the significance then of this moment, as you alluded to a little earlier on, when it comes to him running again for office.
Well, there have been continued suggestions that perhaps the removal of these classified documents, if that indeed is confirmed, that could disqualify him from running for office again. Now, that is by no means a certainty at all. There have been already some suggestions that view of that would not hold up under further scrutiny. But more importantly, perhaps, the tremendous legal jeopardy that he could be in now and the public perception of what's happening, these types of things could certainly make it difficult, if not impossible, for him to successfully try and gain the Republican nomination. But again, this may also have the effect of galvanizing his supporters, of galvanizing the movement to perhaps try and anoint Trump again because of this rhetoric that he and also his allies are really pushing now about this being a politically motivated raid or search, or however we want to term what happened in Mar-a-Lago. So again, I think from a legal standpoint, much to be worked out, and from a political and perception standpoint, a lot of unknowns right now about how this is going to play out, both with the American public as well as the legal proceedings. And I should note also that the White House says they had no prior knowledge that this was happening. So kind of batting back suggestions that this would be somehow politically motivated, saying that there is this separation between the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the executive branch, and that what happens with the Department of Justice is not done in concert with the White House. But a lot of interest, of course, right now in what is happening with Donald Trump.
And how real are the concerns on the ground around his supporters? Because when we look at what other media are suggesting was that a crowd had gathered throughout the day and really upset, at what was unfolding. Looking at what we've seen in the past, around his supporters and the real threat that, this could pose, how much of a concern is it on the ground? What are you hearing?
Well, a couple dozen people, which isn't necessarily that many, but a couple dozen people did come out to Mar-a-Lago over the course of the evening, which is definitely something considering how quickly those forces were at least mobilized to go out there, and Trump reportedly not at Mar-a-Lago at the time of this raid. But in general, when you consider Donald Trump's supporters and what we've seen in the past, of course, the January 6th insurrection looms large in understanding the level of devotion and the bias to action that these supporters certainly have had in the past. Sure, it is a real concern and a real factor, the fact that that Trump has millions of supporters, some of whom may strongly believe that this is an unjust situation. So that is certainly a concern going forward if those supporters do try and mobilize in some way to protest this.
All right, Ira, thank you so much for your time. That was Ira Spitzer with the latest on the raid of former U.S. President Donald Trump's Florida home. Lots of developments around this particular story.